Join us. We are going to do a little quick round of introductions just so we get a sense of who everybody is and where they're joining us from. I'm Kim. I am the founder of Traveling Traders Bazaar, and I'm just so grateful to be partnered with Carolyn and Miriam to offer this Impressions of Oaxaca experience, which to me is a really amazing opportunity to slow down, spend quality time with artisans, and to also really flex both our ability to have time for creativity, but also to really learn from artisans and have our own aesthetic inspired by Oaxaca. Before we get started, I think we're going to do a quick round of intros just so we can see who's on the call. I've already done a bit of my own intro. I live here in Oaxaca with my husband. We've been doing tours here since 2019. And I just love to share textiles and connect artisans, and this just is my happy place. So I'm going to actually give it to Carolyn and Miriam maybe really quickly for them to introduce themselves. And then Carolyn, do you want to do the round robin?
Yeah, I'll do the round so everybody introduces. So hi, I'm Carolyn Callenborn. As Kim mentioned, I live here now full-time in Oaxaca, Mexico. I'm originally from St. Louis, but was in Madison, Wisconsin since like the 80s for most of the time. As I'm a professor emeritus of textile and design, and I do multimedia work as my artistic practice. And I've been working down here in Oaxaca for about 20 years. I have a lot of really wonderful friends who are now family, and we're all very it's just such an interesting, fascinating place. One of my favorite things is to bring people down here and have like creative, interesting, curious people meet other creative, interesting, curious people. And so I love doing these tours. They're super fun, and super lucky to connect up with Kim and Miriam and work with them. We're all very good friends, and Miriam and I have known each other and worked together for good more than 10 years. And so this is like a community that we're bringing people into, not just, it's not just visiting little shops. So anyway, that was a long introduction. Miriam, you want to go next? Miriam, and then after Miriam, it'll be Jamie.
Morning, everybody. My name is Miriam. I'm from San Antonio, Castillo Velasco. I'm here from Oaxaca. This is my state. I born here, live here my whole life, and I'm one of the luckiest girl in the world, I think, because I have I live with a family who developed embroidery for a living for a very long time, several generations. And I also have the luckiest, I have very lucky to know this amazing woman, Kim and Caroline, and we together, we organized this embroidery trip, and this type of trips bring me the other amazing place, which is no amazing people that attend this type of trip. So these trips allowed us to show a little part of what is Oaxaca, but we are trying to show as much as we can, and in another different way that normally people used to know when they visit the spread themselves. So I'm very happy to all of you attend this call, and welcome to this beginning of Impressions of Oaxaca.
Okay, and that's great. Thank you all for joining us. So we're going to take a little time and just go through kind of a day-to-day what we're doing on the trip. And we thought we'd start out with just talking just like where Oaxaca is, because sometimes, and a little bit about Oaxaca. So Oaxaca is in southern Mexico, about halfway between Mexico City and Guatemala. And Oaxaca is a state, a whole state, but the city of Oaxaca, where we're based, is kind of in the center of all of that. And then Miriam, I'm going to let you talk here about the cultural and the background of Oaxaca. You there?
Sorry, I was muted.
You're muted. Yeah, you want to go ahead and
This is a map of Oaxaca. We live, as Caroline said, in the south part of Mexico, and we have a very biodiversity. Our landscape is also mountainy and valleys, and so we have a different types of weather, and that makes that we have also different groups of people who are indigenous, original group of people that survive nowadays. So we can find here 16 different ethnic groups which is a lot of variations in their cultures, in music, dance, food, and also textiles too. So it's a huge variety, but we will try to show you the best that we can and as much as we can too.
Mhm.
And also we have the city, which is a colonial city, but with indigenous roots. So nowadays we are people that we are mixed, a cultural uh, mix with indigenous root and the Spanish root, which are very colorful. Nowadays we have a lot of um, ingredients who comes from these two roots, dances, as you can see there, and of garments, that traditional garment that we use is also influenced by these two different roots. The art is also influenced by all of these factors, and you can see murals all around the city, different cultural manifestations, not just the textiles, also the music. You have the chance to try the food too, which is very important, mainly like Caroline. Caroline, do you want to tell us about this?
Oh yeah, actually, oh, yeah, I was just gonna, or Kim could talk about this too more either. But the food here is really incredible, and there's a lot of food, our dishes that are really based in local pre-Hispanic cuisine, and actually that for food that's been around more or less similar for like thousands of years. These are things that have been cooked here and prepared here, but now there's these sort of infusions with other things, and you can get everything from things that have not changed much in 5 or 6,000 years to things that are like a mix with, you know, Thai food or Spanish food or stuff. So the food is exquisite, and at the moment it has like international acclaim as being one of the best cuisines in the world. So everyone that has been on the trips has very much enjoyed the food as well. So Kim, do you want to do this, or you want me to keep going with it?
Why don't you keep going?
Okay, I'll just keep going. So, so that's story about Oaxaca in general. Now we're going to get into the details about the trip itself. So we have this 10-day trip on that's like an embroidery immersion. So it's kind of a tour and a workshop kind of at the same time. We do a lot of visiting different villages, different embroiderers, and looking at different textiles. And the dates are here, February 15th to the 25th. June, we're going to have dates in either late June, early July, but we're still pinning those dates down, but we'll be announcing those sometime pretty quickly as well. So what we're really like focused on doing on this trip is we want to, you know, it's about embroidery and it's about understanding techniques, but we want to build and go kind of deeper with that and get into like an immersion and inspiration in the culture. Like, why are we doing this here in Oaxaca and not like in a studio someplace in the US? Because when we're here, we have this chance to really see the culture and understand how these techniques are like connected to the culture and the identity. We've also found that like hands-on making is really a meaningful way to make connections. People that make stuff and you see someone else doing it and you show them what they do is incredible. These two people do not speak the same any shared language, but you can tell that they're communicating. She speaks Spanish and Zapotec, and he only speaks Gujarati. He's from India. And they had no shared language, and you can tell how completely connected and engrossed they are in what they're doing. And the sharing, I think, bringing people who are also enthusiasts and working with people here who are enthusiasts, and as part of it's sharing in both directions. It's not just taking and learning from them, but they get something from our energy as well. And we like to do things that encourage that to happen as well. We could do things within the trips to and also just time to take time and relax and reflect. Life is so busy in the US that sometimes just slowing down everything takes longer here, and we think that's a really beautiful thing. So we try to not pack too many different activities into a day, so you have time to sort of take in and do each one. So the first night, Kim, do you want to do this, or should I keep going?
Yeah, sure. No, I'd say like our
Why don't
first
you do
night.
this?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the first night.
Mhm.
We actually kick off in Oaxaca City on our first night. And if you look at the details, we all meet for dinner that night, and then we'll sort of commence the tour. In this case, if you're looking at February dates, our first night of dinner is the 15th. You stay in your own accommodations, and then we pick everybody up the next morning for our next activity. Do you want to put it on the next slide?
Uh-huh.
Which
So the first thing we do is we take off in very early in the morning, the first morning, and we go up in high up into the mountains and to San Pedro Cajonos to go visit a silk weaving cooperative or sanctuary, it's called. And we'll go, they cultivate silkworms, which you can see a live silkworm. Depending on what time of the year, they may or may not have live silkworms when we're there. They cultivate the silk, they grow the mulberries to feed the silk, then they take the silk and they spin it into thread, and then they take the thread, and then this one before you can see they're then putting it on backstrap and loom and hand weaving it. So they also are kind of experts in there on natural dyes, and so we do a natural dye workshop with them, so we can start by dyeing some of our own fabrics that we'll use for stitching. And threads that we can use. We'll use some of their silk threads we can use for stitching, and we do it all with the natural dyes while we're up there. So all of this is dyed with natural dyes, and it's super fun. It's just this absolutely gorgeous place. And then we stay that night. That first night, we stay up in the mountains in these cabins, and which is about an hour from there, but it's closer than Oaxaca, but it's still about an hour from Cajonos. And we do a day of just looking out at the mountains and doing some drawing and stitching and, you know, being inspired by textures and what we're seeing around us. Kim, yeah.
I was just going to give you guys a quick overview of where we're staying. So we actually stay in a town called El Carazal, which is a small village of under 200 people. It's also a baking village. So each community, each family has their own horno in which they're baking bread that's then delivered to other pueblos or villages. We get to enjoy food cooked by our local host that's grown in their community using kind of the Milpa system. And so this is not only a chance to sink into starting to learn about the textures and getting into the space of the embroidery, but it's also a moment to kind of drop into the place in which we are. You're going to hear a lot about Oaxaca City and what is in the valley, but you're going to hear very little most of the time like popularly about the mountains. And the mountains are what makes up most of Oaxaca. And it's actually an incredible, beautiful culture that we really love to share. So I just love to say that because part of me is like, I'm the mountain girl here and I take people into the mountains for weeks at a time. So for me, I love to share this portion of Oaxaca because I think it's a great time to drop in. Thanks, Carolyn.
Yeah, no, that was great. And it's true. And I think that getting out of the center and meeting people, like going to various towns like San Antonino or Cajonos, or that's actually, it's a huge part of it is it's getting away from sort of the general touristy stuff. And like this town, they don't even have restaurants. So we eat in people's homes because they don't have restaurants. So you really get a chance to see life outside of the typical tourist type of thing. And it's also really beautiful, like the philosophies about how they live. It changes how I think about my own life from having spent time there. So and then we'll go ahead. Do you want to do this, Kim?
Well, I wanted to update this one because for our February tour, due to the dates, we're not going to be coming back through on day 3 through a market. So sorry, Carolyn, I meant to update you.
Yeah.
This is my bad. We're too busy sometimes, but so for February's dates, when we come back down from the mountains, we'll actually be coming through Teotitlan. So that day for the February trip, when we come back down through the mountains, we'll actually stop in Teotitlan, which is a village we haven't visited before on our Impressions tours, but is an incredible, going back to weaving, Jamie, this is where the weavers are. So we're looking into, for the February trip, dropping into Teotitlan on that day, and then we'll move into our house and accommodations in Oaxaca that afternoon. Sorry, Carolyn.
Sounds perfect. No, that's perfect. Maybe we can get Raina to make lunch for us.
That's
That'd
what
be good. We're good. Okay, so we won't be going to the market, but we'll go to the, let me see if I can get, there we go. And then on day 4, we come back into the city and we'll actually be working in a studio in my home. And we'll have it'll either be Virginia or her husband Esteban teaches a workshop in a particular type of embroidery that you see here from San Bartolome, Ayautla. And it's kind of like a satin stitch, but it's actually stitched in the back too. And it's a really interesting kind of stitch. They show us how to transfer the marks and how to do the stitching. And it's just this really lovely day of sitting and stitching and learning. It's been a really beautiful experience. So here we are in my studio, and there's places to relax and stitch, and so we're making the designs and then stitching on them. And then we'll go into Miriam. Do you want to take this one and about Oaxaca?
Sure. We also will have the chance to visit the city because the city is the capital. So everybody around towns all around the state, we used to go to the city to sell our products. So you can find all the variations all around the state just in one place. The city is an amazing chance to see the whole state just in one place. We have this amazing museum. This is the Museum Textile of Oaxaca. They have incredible exhibits. They sell products direct from the artisans, which is also a great opportunity for us. The museum has been here for more than 15 years, and they offer also workshops, and we have the chance to visit some of the exhibits, also walking around and visit some stores. Some of them are very traditional, some others are more contemporary, as you can see there. We have a very incredible
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
a lot of variation, and so you can find since the very traditional textiles that has not been changed a lot through the several years or almost nothing that can keep like in the old times, and but in another points you can find very contemporary art too. So will be our Oaxaca walking tour day, and we spend day walking all around the city.
Okay, Kim, this one's yours.
Yeah, no, our second embroidery workshop that we'll be doing will be focusing on Bordado Mágico, which is the picture that you see here, but you'll see nothing on the back if you were to turn it over. And we'll be working with Ali and Conches, who are artisans from the Sierra Nortes, who are actually also collaborating with, going back to the contemporary and the traditional. They're collaborating with a woman that I know really well on a line that she's been working on. So really using their traditional techniques, but applying them in modern ways. So they'll be teaching some of those techniques to us, as well as sort of presenting parts of that collection where they were brought in to do this technical Mexico embroidery, but in a more modern context. So that's a really great day, and that's at Carolyn's studio as well that day.
And then the next day we'll go up, it'll be like a half a day of things going on, and then the afternoon will be free for stitching, and we'll go up to Monte Alban, and we have this incredible guide named Monse, who has just so many wonderful stories about the city and the culture, and even the textiles and the colors, and a lot about like the cosmovision. How did they see themselves as humans within the whole of nature and of creation? And it's just a beautiful talk. She's very knowledgeable, super interesting, and the space is super inspiring. So, and then we do that, and then in the afternoon we go back and to studio, and we can sit and stitch from there. And those have been very very, we have all this itinerary planned out, but at the end, the one thing everybody talks about is how much they like the studio days, where you're just in the studio and sitting and stitching. And you can see how everybody in this, I love this picture on the left, because everybody is sitting there super concentrated, even the teachers and the participants and everybody. I love that Esteban's down there. He's working as, focused on his as the rest of us are. And it's like that. And then people kind of spread out around different places in the house to work. I have a fairly big house that was set up to do this sort of thing. And then Miriam, this will be yours.
The day 8, we will have the chance to visit my house in my town. So I will have the pleasure to receive you here at my workshop, and you can also the chance to meet my mom and my uncles. This is a photograph of my family. We all are related with this activity for our whole lives. Since my grandma who started to sell this product, but here in my village, more before my grandma, my great grandmother, and before them, they used to do this type of embroidery that you see in the pictures. That is a traditional embroidery by themselves for their own use. But nowadays, we are one of the families here in my village who do this type of embroidery to offer to the public who came here. So our traditional garments have 4 different techniques. The technique that we will show with you will be the deshilado. This is one of the most complicated ones. You don't need to have any previous acknowledgement about embroidery. Don't worry about. You don't need any acknowledge it before this trip. But if you have, we can also adjust our workshops to the level that you have. So here in San Antonio, we have the chance to learn this technique, and
Wow.
here we have lunch here too with my neighbor, which also prepare the food with the local ingredients here, and the dinner at the garden of my godmother. So you will have the chance to know my whole family in this day.
Which is great. And then they showed up for the party at the end last time, and it was a blast. So so then after that, we have a lot of input. So we like to have a lot of input, kind of mental and technical and conceptual and technical, and then have time to sort of process that in studio, and then do another input, and then some more studio time. So here we are again, just kind of having an open studio day where this is for you to work on whatever. There'll be various projects happening at the same time, and you can decide which ones you want to continue to work on. So also within that time, Miriam and I will show a number of textiles. These are both pieces that we've collaborated on, and so we'll show different pieces in collaboration. A lot of them are in an exhibit right now in Madison, Wisconsin, but we'll have them back by February. So, but there'll be things to be able to look at, and we'll talk about our collaborations and how that's worked in the past. And then I also have a lot of textiles from many parts of the world. So we'll look at different kinds of embroidery from different places as well. So, and then the very last day, we come back to the studio, we clear off the walls. So all these things on the wall here in the bottom are all pieces that were done in the workshop. So some things are more in process. People don't necessarily get pieces completely done during the workshop, but they'll take them back home and finish them. And then we have a WhatsApp group. So we'll see them a couple months later. Somebody go, I got it done, but there's still a lot of experimentation and ideas. And just by putting it all on the wall, you can actually see everyone's different personalities and things like that. And we do a kind of exchange piece that we're not going to go into until you get here. We like to have a little surprise with that. But at the end, we put it all out, and then we throw a great big party, and we invite a lot of the artisans to come back too, so that it's really, we're all part of this experience together. And so this is a party at my house. There's a studio upstairs, and I love this picture on the left. Everybody just looks so happy. And that's like on the very last day. And that's my dog Paco, who sometimes shows up and comes along on things. If somebody has an allergy or something, we'll check out about that and make sure that doesn't cause any problem. But he tags along from time to time. And
I
then,
love dogs.
some people really love these there because they have dogs at home and they really miss them. So but sometimes people don't like that so much. So we want to check first before he comes on everything. And then we have a group studio space where we can all work. We have a kitchen where we share, my kitchen, you can see the tile behind me is the same as this, where during studio days, we often have meals here in the final days. And then we have accommodations with Kim. You can talk about these next too.
Sure. These are our accommodations in the mountains. So in El Carrizal, we actually stay in community cabins that were built 8 years ago to support ecotourism. They're very comfortable. They have fireplaces. We normally have double occupancy. So in the mountains, it's 2 per room or 2 per cabin. And it's a lovely place to stay. People are always I'm impressed on, they thought it would be more rugged. But we think the cabanas there are really lovely. And then we offer two different options, well, I guess three options for in the city. So when we come back to the city, we're going to be there for 8 nights. We have a house that we rent that's 2 blocks from Carolyn's. It's called the Sunshine House. It's got a lovely terrace. It has 2 single rooms and 2 double rooms. So it'll accommodate 6 people. And so for those that would like to have accommodations near Carolyn's and in this group setting, then we accommodate 6. I have 5 spots left in the house right now. And then we also have 6 spots for local or non-accommodation participants. And if that's the case, then we can recommend if you want to stay by yourself nearby or have other arrangements, then we can accommodate that. But if you're coming from afar and want to have the group dynamic, Sunshine House is definitely a great space. We also equip the kitchen with like a continental breakfast to get folks started. So, you know, my husband's a chef and used to do retreat cooking. So he just does a nice like shop to get us sourdough bread from our local bakery, yogurt, granola, fruit. So we also like to kind of get you settled in there with something nice in the mornings. So that's our option for accommodations. And so we have 1 single room left in Sunshine House for February and 4 spots for the 2 double rooms. So if you are interested in joining us in February and would like accommodation, I would encourage you to apply and let us know what you'd like.
Okay. Wait, here we go. All right. So the costs for the February trip are $3,200 for a single occupancy, $2,800 for a double occupancy, and $2,200 if you're local. We sometimes get people who live here in Oaxaca or have family in Oaxaca or something like that, and they come along. So those have worked out well. And what's included is all of the meals, except 3 lunch days on. So there's like a continental breakfast, and any meals while we're traveling are covered. And it covers transportation, workshops, special materials, and accommodation. Kim, is that all meals is correct? Is that?
No, there's a couple free nights for dinner.
That's what I thought. There's a couple free nights. So I'm sorry that is not updated. So, but there's on the page of the website, it tells which meals are included. We actually like to have a few meals open because there's so many options here in Oaxaca that for you to have evenings free to go choose where you want to do, or some people are just kind of tired and they want to go back and go home to sleep. It works.
Some people are like,
I'm sorry I had this wrong.
People are like, some people are like, I had leftovers and I went home and I embroidered and I went to sleep early.
Yeah. And or they just want to go back and talk to family. And people have different levels of how much they can be around different people and how much downtime they need. So having those evenings kind of free is actually really nice because people can recharge their batteries in whichever way they do it, whether it's being around more people and going out, or whether it's just staying in and going to sleep, or, you know, sometimes sometimes I just have to catch up on my emails and stuff, and then I can relax more the next day. So anyway, but having those times to be able to do things like that. So I'm sorry I had this. I wish I had the exact number, but that's it. But that's it for our presentation. So after this, do you all have questions?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I've got like 4, no, not 4, but
I love it.
I'm probably coming in without the friend that was going to come. So will you fix me up with a roommate?
Yeah, you would be assigned to a roommate in the Sunshine House. And haven't had any complaints so far.
Okay. And when I come in early, will you give us I mean, if I come in, you know, the first night, I need to know where to stay. I've never been to Oaxaca.
Absolutely. So if you sign up for this trip, I'm going to be your BFF on email.
Cool.
And providing a lot of different information directly to anybody who applies and signs up.
Okay.
That includes the list of recommended hotels prior to the trip starting. So I have sort of a few hotels that I'd like to recommend that makes it easier for us to pick folks up the first morning. But also I find like a hotel that has a coffee shop nearby that opens early.
Right.
You know,
I need coffee, lots of coffee.
So I do provide sort of that list of recommendations to sort of set you up for success, and also have a Oaxaca city guide for folks who come early, and can definitely make recommendations for like activities that are not included in our tour if you come early as well.
Okay. Do you have, I've got another friend who may want to come, but she's not an embroiderer, I don't think. Would you, if she came along, would that be a problem?
It wouldn't
Well,
be a problem,
it's
but she
fine.
will be, it is an embroidery trip. So
Yeah,
I would
right.
say are looking for some people who would like to participate in the activities. But if
Right.
you have no experience, that's like totally fine.
Okay.
We have folks
Okay.
who've never sewed before, and we have people who are exhibiting artists, and they've
Mhm.
all found value in sort of the
Okay.
activities in whatever level they are.
Yeah, we
Okay.
kind of keep things enough open-ended that if somebody wants to take off, if they can, or if somebody needs a little more hands-on, like Kim and Miriam, well, I'll put Miriam, Kim and I can all give really great one-on-one, and we try to keep the number at 10. Every once in a while, we'll go to 11 because somebody really, really, really wants to join after we sold out. But we
We're
try to
capping
keep
it
the
at 12.
number. What's that?
I'm gonna cap
Yeah.
it at 12 this year.
Like 12. So I think that there's always somebody that can help, and that can help you if you're having, we do like real basics, like here's how you thread a needle and knot your thread on the very first days for those that haven't had it, and those that already do it, they don't need to watch that part. They're already doing the stitch.
She's fluent in Spanish. I mean, she lived in Guatemala for a long time, but
Oh, that's great.
so I think she would be okay. I'll
Yeah.
check with.
There's
And that's the other, yeah, and the Spanish level too, it's something, if you have it, it's awesome because it allows you to be able, you can talk to, most of our artisans teaching us don't speak English. Miriam does, but, and there's a lot of people we interact with don't, but we interpret, all three of us are fluent in both languages. So there's always somebody that can help. But if you have some, it's a kind of fun because you can kind of go off and have conversations on your own a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, it's not necessary, but it's one, like, if you've got it, it makes it extra cool. But if you don't, it's still pretty awesome. So.
Okay.
Yeah, an experience in embroidery makes also very interesting to how they are more open to learn things and to show other ways to think about the projects that we have. So the experience that we already have with some other participants that don't have so much experience about embroidery has been just awesome. We love this person. So
Yeah.
she's
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
you've turned into like really great friends. And also what happens in these groups, we do a number of things for people to get to know each other, and we're all people that are interested in the same kind of things. As it gets kind of tight, and people help each other out, and whoever's sitting next to you helps you, whether they're a teacher. So I don't think we've ever had anybody feel left behind about anything, whether it was language or technique or walking or whatever. Everybody's been looking out for each other. We've been very lucky to have really, really incredible groups of people who are really supportive.
That's what happened on my Portugal tour. And it
Mhm.
was it's the only kind of tour I'm ever going to do again, where
It's just
we're all
lovely.
interested, we're all interested in the same thing, and
Yeah.
we click as a group. So
Yeah.
travel.
It's been really lovely.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
What
Okay,
is the
so
weather like at that time of the year?
So in February, the weather is very nice here. Our rainy season is past, so we're not getting any rains. It'll be pleasant during the day. It can be warm in like the direct sun. And then the evenings it'll be cooler. So we always recommend like layers, because in the sun during the day, it's going to be like breezy and feeling great. And then at night, you're going to maybe want a layer or two, like a layer, just to be outside or enjoy it. And in the mountains, it will be a little colder. So again, I ask people to
Bring a jacket. Yeah.
bring a layer, as well as maybe a hat, just because we are higher up in the mountains.
And closed shoes up there. In the city, mostly I wear sandals all the time, but up in the mountains, like tennis shoes and socks at that time of the year is good.
Okay, long pants.
We have
Long
a pack
pants.
list. Yeah, and I typically wear pants now in Mexico. I haven't worn shorts in years now.
I don't wear shorts
Oh,
here
that's
either.
why, like,
I wear skirts if it's hot, but not
yeah, it's like a
shorts.
skirt, pants. You're welcome to wear shorts. It's just culturally, it's not very common here. I realize.
Capri pants are common. or lightweight kind of loose pants are super comfortable. Skirts are great in the warm weather. And sometimes I'll pop shorts on underneath there if I'm going to be, climbing around a lot or something.
Well, we don't used to wearing summer short or no the sleeves blouses because there's too much sun, so it helps you to cover the sun. And also the bugs. In February, it will be amazing because there's not too many mosquitoes because there's not rainy season, so we'll be very comfortable. But in any way, also some of them there's still survive. So if we can cover our arms and our legs, we will be fine. So nothing, but it's more comfortable.
What's the logistics of signing up?
So I will send a follow-up email with the recording. I have likely included in my emails to some folks the link to the application already. So there's just a Google form that we ask everybody to fill out, which Jamie, I believe I already have yours.
I think I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Sorry, I'm having to remember.
No.
We have several.
I remember you did apply. And so the next step that I'll be sending you, Jamie, is both the recording as well as a payment link to whichever you might want to single, double.
Okay.
So we typically application is the first. Application tells me that you want to hear back from me. You want me to follow up with you and say, hi, you signed up. Can I answer questions? Here's the next step. If you say you'd like to join us in June or we're considering fall dates, if you select that June or September, October date, I'm going to follow up in 3 months and check in and say, hey, you expressed interest for June. So I would say Jamie, you're already on my radar. And most of you ladies are because I've been tracking you all since you signed up.
This is why we love her, among other things.
I know when you signed up at what date, and I know you were interested in this, so I do, but applications help me so much. Because we are
And
actually,
once you decide to go, you can just write an email and say, can you send, I'm ready to make a payment, and she'll send you a link right away to put your
but I
payment.
do follow up. Everybody who signed up on this call will get a follow-up email from me with the recording as well as all next steps. And so that is our next thing. And actually I'm going to say 2025 looks like people are really leaning into traveling more this year. We just sold out our January trip, which
we only posted a month ago, I think, and we sold it out this week with an extra person. Yeah.
Which I'm really excited. I'm happy that people are seeing 2025 as a year to sort of engage and get into or out of the US and into some culture and embroidery. So that is, Jamie, that's the next step. I'll be following up because I have an application. Several ladies, I don't have applications from you. I know you're interested, but at some point I won't be able to follow up as much if I don't have an application because it's just me.
Okay. Do you suggest, do you have a suggestion for travel insurance? Do you go through anybody?
I'm actually putting together a list of recommendations for this next year based on folks that we've talked to. So I don't have that right now, but I can share those that we
when you get it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I on mute?
Are there any other questions from anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question about the so the follow-up email that Kimberly you'll send will have the application attached.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to send you that one-stop shop email follow-up for everybody who joined the call.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then also I've made a note for travelers insurance, Jamie. So I will take that. And then I think I heard somebody saying, am I off of mute? And I think it was Cynthia or Kathy.
I think it was me.
Okay. Sorry. I don't see faces right now.
I was just going to say that we have traveled with Alliance and they have been fantastic. We've had to file 2 claims and both times there was no questions asked.
Oh, great.
Oh, great.
And
That's good to know.
The one time we were just recently in Hungary and I became ill, they found a local doctor who was able to do a teleconference with me, get me the prescription, but had I needed to see them, they were local. It wasn't somebody halfway around the world. So I think we pay, I don't know, $500 or $600 a year, and it just covers all of your travel.
Right.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
And that's for a couple. That's for the two of us.
Mandy.
And we're
That
old.
sounds good. Yeah. And then the other thing I just thought I'd mention quick is last year, we do start, we have the dinner the night before and we leave very early the next morning. So I would recommend not getting a flight that comes in at 9 o'clock the night before, you know, or 6:30 is the time it comes here, or 7:30 it'll be, because it's 7:30 the night before. It's either get one that comes in early in the day, or maybe the one day before. We did have a number of people last year that there were flight things, and since we leave early in the morning for out of town for several days,
Mhm.
if you have, you know, flight delays or cancellations, it can make things a little complicated. We'd still figure out how to get you there should that happen. Like, you know, we had somebody meet somebody and come up in a different and through a different way. But I encourage you to not like cut it super close to when you arrive to when this all starts. So yeah. And some people use it and they spend a couple days in the city just to have fun a little bit while you're here. Hotels are not super expensive and food's not outrageously expensive either. So it's not bad to spend a couple days ahead of time. So if you have it. Okay. Any other questions?
You covered it all. I'm excited.
And if you think of something else, you know, feel free to write. We're all super happy. Kim's your first line of questions, but if you have something specifically for one of us, Miriam and I, or I think we're all on all those emails, so you can send something to any of us as well. So,
Oh,
I've
no,
got
I
one
have a
more.
quick question about exchanging money and.
I recommend using ATMs when you arrive. We have ATMs at the airport. You can get best exchange rates via that way. Oaxaca
Okay.
Centro has significant ATMs, again, that you just decline the Mexican conversion and you can get a better rate. I think it's just a little easier than converting US dollars, but I think also you like, and maybe you know of a place to exchange the dollars, but I typically recommend.
I always just use I use my credit card for direct payments and I use my debit card for pulling cash out. But those kind of details, once you sign up, we have a pre-trip meeting somewhere between a month to 3 weeks before the trip, and we go over all those details and like what to bring, what, you know, how to dress, you know, and all of the really logistic stuff. We'll go through all of those in detail, and then that's also recorded. So you'll be able to go back and look at that. And we have lists that we send out too. So we've got a lot of information that comes out to try to make things as easy as possible for when you get here.
Perfect.
Just one quick question. Will the weaving workshop, the January one, be offered again in the fall?
The weaving workshop,
Yeah,
I think that it's in August, late August, around the 25th or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a couple things we overlap, but not very much. You'll go visit the Silk Village in both, but you know, I could visit that 20 times a year.
Oh, make
really
me do
pretty.
that. That's terrible.
It's really pretty up there. But we don't overnight up in the mountains and everything else. I think that's about the only thing that is the same. We do walking tour in Oaxaca, but we do a totally different walking tour. So
Okay. Well, thank you. I've got to run. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Looking forward to it.
Valerie, good seeing you. Any other questions? Cynthia, you good? Need anything?
No, just thank you.
Okay.
All right.